So this video, this can be pretty long. I'm not sure how long it's going to be. This is a couple of topics I want to talk about, but this is definitely one of them. And I wasn't sure how I wanted to go about it. So what I've seen is that there's a podcast talking about it. So I can give my reaction to the points that they bring up. Anything I feel they left out, I probably will talk about at the end. But yeah, this makes it a bit more easier for me to discuss certain things because it is a touchy subject. And I don't think I'm skilled enough at the moment to talk about this on a public platform without it being done in a sensitive or articulate way. So what I'll do is I will react to their talking points and we'll go from there. Oh, sorry, I haven't even. So what it is Mason Greenwood. Mason Greenwood, a very talented player, come through the Man United academy, and basically some untoward things have come out about him. He was suspended for the club pending investigation, and the police have the Crown Prosecution Service have come back and said all charges dropped. You're free to live your life. There's not enough evidence or whatever. I don't know. So they're going to talk about it. I'll give you my take.
How do you gauge it? How do you gauge a person who can be rehabilitated and someone who's not? Because there's some people I don't believe can be.
This mentality. If that happens in the village, that guy's fucked. From a situation where we all know you got away with murder. Everybody knows you got away with it. Even if the law has not considered you, whatever the law considers you, I don't need the law. The law and God are two different things.
Okay, then let me play Angel's advocate here. Then, yeah.
Angel.
How do you then embed that person back into society?
Sorry, as you were, get serious, my brother.
Yeah, it's about to get serious today. Okay, where should we start? Let's start. I'm curious to find out your opinion on the Mason Greenwood thing and what happens going forward. So,
okay, I'll use his. Actually, let him finish.
Wow.
Okay, we've already had a conversation about, and it's there. If you lot will know. Some of you lot have been here for a minute. We've already had a conversation about that. But the charges were dropped, in that situation. What do you think happens to Mason Greenwood in regards to like his career now?
Alright, let me use this talking point and I'll respond to that. From what I remember, Mason Greenwood had a recording and he was saying some horrendous things to his, at the time, girlfriend. I think they're even still together now, but that's not the point. And he was arrested and an investigation started on a number of allegations. Some of them were sexual, some of them were physical abuse, etc. But the nuts and bolts of it is that he has now, how can I say it, not been released. All charges are dropped. So as far as I'm concerned, the way I would understand it is that if he was guilty or he was taken through the process and he was found guilty, we'd have to treat man as guilty. So the fact that he's not guilty, all charges are dropped, we have to treat man as an innocent man. The only issue with that is that there's been a recording put out to the public that most of us would have heard that makes him sound pretty disgusting. So where does he go from here? He's definitely going to go back to training. He is a young player that come through the academy. He signed a big contract. He's worth millions to the club. If they get rid of him, someone else will pick him up. That's just the nature of the game. Let's see what Poet has to say about that.
I need to give more context for people who have not been there before.
So, those who don't know, there's a young player for Manchester United called Mason Greenwood. polarized since I would say 2020, 2019. He had like Nike campaigns with Skepta making him a boot. He was on the trajectory, scoring great goals. He was doing extremely well until the girl he was seeing at the time put forward some content she had put on social media and voice notes, which showed quite disturbing graphic images of her and a bloody face, and some really disturbing voice notes of what seemed, I will say allegedly, which looks like Mason Greenwood forcing sex upon someone who didn't want to have sex.
Yeah.
So that's and then obviously he got arrested. It all came out during COVID, so things were quite static, so people gathered evidence quite quickly, I would imagine. And he was prisoned for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
He's come out and he's
I didn't know that. I didn't know that he was in prison for 3 weeks. So it got very serious then.
And then recently they've just dropped all
Well,
charges.
I mean, from the talk from before was that she didn't want to press the charges in the
from
first
day
place.
one.
Yeah,
We
she
were
didn't
talking
wanna
about
do
it. The parents didn't want to press
Yeah.
charges, nothing like that.
Okay, so the charges have been dropped, yeah?
Yeah.
People have heard the audio and whatever and come to their own conclusions or whatnot, yeah? What happens now? Because I asked this question purely because, yeah, and you may be better at speaking about this than me, but in my mind, I'm like, all right, so the charges are dropped. That means he's employed by a company, yeah? Ultimately, he's employed by a company, right? Now, usually in company policy, even though we understand that football is a bit different and works a little bit different, yeah? If your company are unfairly treating you, that gives the employee grounds to potentially sue the company on unfair dismissal, if anything, right? Which I'm essentially saying that here is that, like, if he's actually training and he's doing what he's supposed to be doing, but he's not being played for any reason, remember, the charges have been dropped, so it means that, like, you're supposed to, what is it? You're innocent until proven guilty. What happens then?
This is the issue. I think I spoke about it just before I stopped it before, is that we all heard disturbing, well, we think it's disturbing video or recordings of him saying and maybe doing, or as actually just saying terrible and disturbing things. But if all charges are dropped, that is his job. His job can't really sack him if he's not been proven to do anything wrong. But this recording is out in the public. This recording makes him look morally questionable. I'll be very surprised if he doesn't start playing for Man United this season.
It's an interesting one. We had a long conversation about it this morning, Chucks, and this is where I think I always struggle at work. I'll get to exactly what I'm speaking about because it seems like I'm going all the way around. But the other day I had a conversation with Troy Deeney on Troy Deeney's podcast.
Honourable shout out to Troy Deeney. Bring him here, please, as well.
No problem, 100%. And we spoke about a village mentality and a capitalist society mentality. And I said a lot of people with village mentalities live outside of big cities. Now, a capitalist society is to capitalize on whoever is what you consider the enemy, maybe competition, so you can progress up the ladder of what have you. And the village mentality is, Chucky, if you're the man that cuts hair, you're going to cut all the hair. And if you're the man that films, you're going to film everything. And we're all going to work together to progress as a collective unit. Now, where am I going with this? In the village mentality, the reasons why I love it is because you take your principles with you from home to work, because you have to work together. In a capitalist mentality, it's about outdoing the other person. So sometimes you can be a bit of a cunt. And let's get to the top. This is one of them examples to me. This is the capitalist mentality where a wronging's happened. And I understand it's such an extreme wronging. Do you even bounce back from that? You can take a look at the story from Ched Evans, Sheffield United striker, who was he Was charges dropped with him as well?
No.
He went to prison for it.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
he went to
came
prison.
out.
He went to
He
prison
went to
for
prison
it.
for rape. He was in prison for rape. He's come out and he's played again for Sheffield United and a couple.
Oh, yeah.
And there was a woman, a swimmer or an athlete. I can't remember her name, but she asked for her name to be taken off the stadium and so on and so forth because she didn't think it was right for Ched Evans.
Dame Kelly Rose?
Might be her. I'm not sure.
She was.
But yeah, she
Definitely.
asked for her name to be taken off the situation because she didn't want a rapist to play for the club. All right, cool. Where am I going with all of this? Mason Greenwood to me is part of a situation which is capitalist. If you listen to them voice notes and you see everything, I am not the black man that's going to start listening to the law just because of this case. I'm sorry, my brother. We've had too many examples just over COVID itself where we shouldn't really be listening to the law. So we can make a fair assessment as adults. Do I feel comfortable with what I've heard and what I've seen? In my heart, no, my brother.
Right.
So if you are not going to take responsibility for it at work in front of everyone, and I understand it's a mad thing to take responsibility for. You may have been maybe unaware of what you were doing to an extent. You didn't realize. You just ignorantly thought I'm playing the man or what have you. Then you've realized, no, this is actually rape. And now you're just like, oh my God, if I could take it back, I would. You probably are like that. I'm not saying you're not. But you're not taking responsibility for it, irrespective of the repercussions. So because of that, for me personally, I don't believe you should play for the club. I don't believe you should even move forward within the world of football for the simple fact that the type of person I am is if I've made a mistake, I have to accept it.
Right.
And the only person that's free to judge me from that moment is God.
I struggle with this. I struggle with this thought process. I mean, he went a bit all over the place, so it's hard for me to kind of be concise, but I'll try. So, if you're taking responsibility for it, and they decided that they weren't pressing any charges, would you still be able to say he can play? Is a village mentality only? Village mentality. People can only talk about that. People only want to talk about that when they're on top. People taking advantage of the capitalist society, myself, Poet, Chucky, all these people are all taking advantage of a capitalist society. So it's all well and good saying, if this is a village, then, you know, you have to take the moles to work or whatever, But we're in a capitalist society. If we don't like that, then we could go elsewhere and do our thing elsewhere. Saying if this is a village, he has to be, but you're essentially saying if we have a village mentality, then he is accountable at work for what he does at home and vice versa, etc. I think that's what I'm reading from that. I could be getting it wrong. The reality is that he's found innocent, or there's not enough. All allegations, all charges have been dropped. He is a man that can go to work. Now, he might have said some wrong things. Loads of us in life have said bad things, but have never been caught on a recording, and we're not famous footballers. So we don't have to necessarily take accountability for something that we might have done, said wrong at home or whatever. Don't get me wrong, he's going to have to face up to this one way or another. People might be acting funny with him at work, might cause some unrest in the changing room, but I'm not sure that he shouldn't be able to earn a living for the rest of his life or in the football world. I'm not sure about that. I'm a bit conflicted.
Because we're all sinners under the eyes of the Lord.
Facts.
So once we've told the truth, I just feel like if God takes you to the place of you playing football again or what have you, I'm not here to judge, my bro. 'Cause I've done some stupid things in my life as well. But the moment you're
Not
lying...
that one, but yeah.
No, ain't no one doing that, my brother. But you see, this situation here, it's so severe. The fact that you've not even told the truth at the back of it, your whole life is going to be shaped by this very moment. So everything you do is a cover-up to this. I don't want anything to do with a situation like that.